Before we begin with the first question from the floor, we would like to pose a couple of questions to DPM Tharman to get everything started. So, Minister Tharman, you talked about challenges that are moving ahead in Singapore. So perhaps I would like to start with a little bit about education, since you were previously the Minister for Education. So it was reported that more university places will be created in Singapore. 40% of each cohort will have a place in a local university by 2020, as compared to today's 27%. How do you think this will affect us? Will it not greatly dilute the value of a university degree?
So I think it's a very important question. It was not a no-brainer to increase public funding for university places from what is currently 27% to 40%. It was a major move, and we had to think very hard about it. The first thing that we had to accept is that one way or another, more Singaporeans are going on to get their degrees. They're going abroad, they're doing it locally through various external private degrees. They're spending a lot of family resources on it. And I think it is fair for us to make more of a public investment to help them to get their degrees. But what is equally important, if we want to talk about fairness, is to make sure that the degree that they're getting is going to be worth something in the market. And we want to use this public investment not just to create more university places, but to make sure that the public investment is skewed towards a type of training that develops skills that are more likely to be worth something in the market. And that means more skills-based training, more applied training, because the most modern economies only require so many general people with a general ability. The bulk of the jobs in a modern, sophisticated economy require specific skills and a certain depth of skills, acquired both through your education as well as on the job. So we've got to make sure that this addition in degree places is principally an addition in more applied learning fields, and an addition so that people who come out from university have got specific skills that the market values. That way we avoid a terrible mistake, I would say, in much of Europe and in fact many parts of Asia. Taiwan, for instance, has a very significant surplus of university graduates who can't find jobs, or they can't find jobs that require a graduate degree. Many of them are working in clerical or secretarial jobs or the front office in hotels, all degree holders, but frustrated because they've spent resources on a degree that's not really worth the paper in the market.
All right, thank you, Minister Tharman. So, is there any questions from the floor? If you have a question, can you please proceed to the mic and then give your name, your course, and your year, please? So, okay, we have one down there on the right-hand side.
Hi, good evening, Minister Tharman. Glad to see you again. My name is Teh Siong Ching. I'm a fresh grad, now an education officer. My question is regards to the public debt of Singapore. Recent economist report says our public debt is at 96% of our GDP, which is higher than that of the US and most developed countries. So some of the question that spins on from this report is, why is the public debt so high? And does the government has its own debt ceiling? And is the government concerned if this high amount of debt, public debt as a percentage of GDP would affect investors' confidence in the future?
Thank you. What you'd see sometimes on the last page of The Economist are some very simple statistics. Some nice bar charts with different colors. And they're not meaningless, but they lack meaning. And to understand the public debt in Singapore, look at the credit rating reports. Why is it that Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Fitch, all the other credit rating agencies have Singapore rated AAA, which, by the way, is a diminishing breed? There are very few countries left that are still rated AAA. Why? Despite the fact that we've got this bar with Singapore at the bottom that is 96%, as you say. is because they know that our public debt is not for public spending. None of the debt can be used for government spending. This is debt that is in the form of Singapore government securities that are used to develop depth in the financial markets and provide a risk-free yield curve, as the financial market people call it. And secondly, it is debt that is issued to the CPF board. It's the investments, all CPF monies are invested in special Singapore government securities. And both these sources of debt, Singapore government securities and the special Singapore government securities, are invested abroad in our reserves. And our assets in our reserves significantly exceed our liabilities in the form of these debts. That is well known to the analysts, and that's why each year on our budget, we have a significant stream of investment income that is income on the assets minus the liabilities, in other words, the net assets. And the fact that we've got that significant stream of income on our budget each year, over $7 billion, is indication of the fact that the assets are substantially larger than the liabilities. And this is despite very conservative rules on what we can spend. We don't spend all of the investment income. We are only allowed to spend up to 50% of the real value of the income. So first we have to deduct inflation, then we can take only up to 50%. But you still get $7 billion. So if you do some simple arithmetic, it will be fairly obvious that assets are substantially larger than liabilities, and that's how you still get the significant stream of income onto our budget, which is a very important strength we have in our fiscal system, which we hope to preserve not just for this generation, but future generations. But thank you for asking that question.
Thank you, Minister Tharman.
Thank you very much. We have a lady on the left.
Hi, my name is Filza. I'm a first-year PhD student from the School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences. I'm an organic chemist. I have an idea to raise about immigration policies, and I know it's a topic that's widely debated. So I just wanted to raise this idea and maybe trigger a debate on it. So what are your thoughts on having greater transparency in our immigration policies? So that goes beyond explaining the economic rationale of boosting our growth or boosting our declining birth rates. For instance, having our PR selection criteria publicly known, for instance, because why would person A be selected for PR over person B? We don't know exactly why. And can we adopt a point system that is similar to what Canada or Australia has? And what are your thoughts on that? Because the way I see it, it's of good advantage to Singaporeans because they may be able to have a better understanding of why foreigners are here. And for the foreigners, it would be a tremendous advantage as well because they would be able to better plan for their future because they come to Singapore searching for a better life. They want to set up families here. So being able to plan long term would definitely be of great advantage.
I think it's a good question. First, in principle, I agree with you that we need some transparency in the system. More transparency is better. The most transparency is probably not better. So it doesn't mean that you tell everyone exactly what your criteria are and exactly what points they are, and the system is somehow better. I think there'll be many unintended consequences. But enough transparency so someone knows. First, if you're married to a Singaporean, is that an advantage? If you have certain educational qualifications or track record at work, is that an advantage? Actually, people more or less know what the guidelines are. But it varies over time, and it varies because there's a lot of complication in this. You're looking at education, work experience, how long you've been here, do you have relatives here, are you married or just related to Singaporeans? There are many different considerations. And because we are a multi-ethnic society with a very careful balance, we can't be blind to where people come from either. So, in general, I think we can get more transparent, But most important, I think, is not the criteria, but the broader debate that we have to settle, which is how much of an inflow of foreigners should we have, how fast, in other words, what level and how fast we bring them in. And that's a very difficult question that is worth continuous review and frank and open debate, which we will be having. There will be a white paper on this, and we'll be having a full debate on the matter. And as part of the national conversation that PM just announced and that Heng Swee Keat has just launched, because he's chairing the committee that's organizing this, this will be one of the issues that I'm sure will arise and that we'll have that we need to have a very frank and open discussion on. So I would say focus on the fundamentals, not so much the precision and the details, but focus on the fundamental principles. Who are the type of people whom we should let first into our workforce to do different types of jobs? Secondly, the type of people whom we want in our society who will stay here for a longer period. And then focus on, since you're an organic chemist, focus on osmosis.
Thank you very much, Filza. We have a gentleman on the left-hand side. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Tharman. My name is Munir. I'm a graduate student, and I'm in my final year at the School of Biological Sciences. I just came straight from my in-camp training at Jurong Camp, actually, just part of my national service. And, I'm proud to wear that number 4. And, well, I wear it so that somebody else doesn't have to wear it. And today is my turn, or was my turn. But it seems, sir, that those of my color, the Malay Muslim minority, are especially adept at serving in the infantry and the guards, and especially in the civil defense. And we are conspicuously overrepresented in these services and almost non-existent in the others. My question is, do you think this policy is becoming increasingly difficult to defend and justify? And is it instead a ticking time bomb for, as Singapore grapples with what we call national identity, because I feel like somehow I'm not good enough to serve in some other uniform colors?
So this is an important question which I think quite rightly arises from time to time. The policy, as many of you would know, is not fixed for all time. It has evolved very significantly over the years. If you look at the number of Malay Muslims who are now in the Air Force and in other critical areas compared to 20 years ago, it's quite different. Not just involved as ordinary soldiers, but as officers and in positions of responsibility. This is something that has evolved and must continue to evolve. And it is part of the changing nature of Singapore society and the fact that Singaporeans basically are increasingly Singaporean first at heart, in mind, and everything else. So let's make sure this continues to evolve and be practical about it. So I don't blame you for asking this question. It is a valid question, and we should all be aware of this sensitivity, but let's keep evolving our policies in the military.